For the White House perspective on jobs, I want to bring in the Chief Economics Advisor to the President, Austan Goolsbee. Austan, it is your last day at the White House before you head back to the University of Chicago. We were running this clip earlier about you when you were on Jon Stewart. It looked like you couldn't wait to get out of town. But before you do, Austan, though, on the jobs front, do you feel like you are leaving the White House that you're leaving it in a satisfactory position on jobs? Are you satisfied with what has happened?
No, of course not. I mean, we got the unemployment rate, even though it's down a little today, is still 9.1%. So we definitely should not stand pat. We got a long way to go. I mean, I always say you don't want to make too much out of any one month's report. But there was at least encouraging news, and this report came in well above expected. The private sector at more than 150,000 jobs created. And I believe that puts us at around 2.4 million over the last 17 months. Now, we took some heavy blows for the first half of this year, but now all the focus has got to be how do we get the growth rate back up in the second half of the year.
Right, and all the people that we've been talking to, a lot of the guests, from the CEOs to the economists, private individuals, all say that what is going on in Washington, the White House, Congress, actually exacerbating the jobs problem here.
Well, minus that part about the White House, yes, I agree with that. I think that what you saw in the discussion of the debt ceiling, where you had actual members of Congress in the U.S. government saying, well, maybe a default would be okay if it didn't last for very long, was deeply damaging and unsettling to the whole world, not just the United States. I mean, it was quite dysfunctional to see the kind of absolutism that we saw. So fortunately, we're past that. We got the debt ceiling extended. We have a substantial deficit reduction for the long term. And it allows us to continue to put the focus where it should be, like the president's out today with this tax credits to encourage employers to hire unemployed veterans and people who have really served the country well, and we ought to be better serving them. Okay, so then,
so others then are looking then for Washington to do something about it. What can be done then? What exactly, I mean, you just mentioned some of the initiatives, but what exactly overall can be done to change the game on jobs here from the White House, from Washington?
Well, I'd say there are 4 or 5 things that we could do in a bipartisan way right now. And as I said last month, it's a puzzle to me why we've been spending all the time arguing about the debt ceiling and not doing things that both sides agree on, like let's pass the free trade agreements. Let's pass the patent reform bill so entrepreneurs can get patents in a reasonable time frame. Let's extend the payroll tax cut for 150 million workers. Let's do a bunch of these things. So each of these, the infrastructure bank, they've had bipartisan support, but they're stalled. And even with this number coming in better than expectations, it's still a call to action. It still says, we got a long way to go, and let's come together for the sake. After what the world has seen and with the troubles that we've faced the last several months, let's do some things that make people feel better, not make them worried that the U.S. government's not going to stand up to its word.
Austan, are we headed into another recession?
Look, everybody knows we took some heavy blows, as I said, first half of this year with gas prices, with the events in Japan and with the events in Europe. I think most of the private forecasters, like you saw Mark Zandi today, saying they are expecting a rebound in this second half of the year. I think the crucial thing is going to be we got to get the growth rate back up. And the president's been saying that. He's been outlining policy and has been trying to work with the private sector to do it.
Okay, but do you believe that we are at risk of possibly seeing another downturn here in the U.S.?
Well, look, as I say, it's not a surprise that for the first 6 months of the year, we took heavy blows. We didn't need the statistics to tell us that. People knew that. Even the people with jobs have been really struggling to get by. If we're growing, if we're adding 2.4 million jobs over 17 months, those are not the things that a double-dip recession looks like.
Then, Austan, let me ask you this. earlier in the week, a lot of people were talking about the credit downgrade. I know, as you mentioned, we got the debt ceiling raised, we passed the debt package, now we're seeing some growth, better than expected in jobs. Have we passed that point of a risk of a downgrade here in our credit?
You know, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for the rating agencies. I think I'm certainly glad that we were able to get past the point where you had members of the government saying it'd be okay if we had a partial or temporary default. That was deeply unsettling to businesses all around this country and really to investors around the world. I think it's people putting too much on rating agencies is probably a big mistake. I mean, it didn't. I don't need to remind folks about the financial crisis and the role of the rating agencies for people to recognize what one rating agency says about one country is a lot less important than what the overall markets are doing.
Okay. Austan, you're the second to last person to have remained among President Obama's original economic team. Should the American public be worried that the only person left on this team now is going to be Geithner?
Well, no, I don't think so. I mean, I've been plugging away with the president for coming on 5 years now, so I think it's perfectly natural. As somebody said in the White House, the president's running a marathon, and for the staff, it's a series of sprints until you're too tired and you hand the baton to the next person. And look, the focus comes from the top. The president has laid out the vision that he wants for how the economy is going to grow our way out of our problems. And, you know, our job is to help facilitate that. And I'm sure that when they name my replacement, it's going to be a very respected economist. They're going to come in and do a great job. And we've also got two Senate-confirmed members of the CEA who are in place, and they will remain giving great advice.
Austan, who do you want to replace you?
That's not my call. The president chooses who he wants to replace him.
Who do you want? You must have some
I want
opinion.
whoever the president wants. I want my replacement to be ready to come in here because I'm leaving. I'll be in Chicago on Monday.
And was Jon Stewart right about it? You're giddy about getting out? Are you relieved to be getting out?
As I said, I will admit to a certain happiness to getting back and sitting on the front porch.
Okay, but you know, I'm going to keep chasing you. I'll chase you down to the University of Chicago to get more.
I'm happy to talk to you.
All right. Austan, best of luck to you. As we mentioned, he is going back to
Betty.
teaching.
It's been great talking to you.